Next one, here we are with the FHA VA Addendum. Now I'll tell you that it is great to complete this at the time of the offer. It is possible that what you will find is that the lender may require their own document which is going to say the same thing. Just the way things work, but just send it to them and say, by the way, did you have this? Do you know I already have this signed? And see whether or not they want their own. But if you are making any FHA or VA financed mortgage that your purchase agreement is contingent upon, this agreement you will need. So let's go through it. The addendum attached is made part of a certain purchase agreement between the undersigned parties dated, obviously date of the purchase agreement, covering a property commonly known as, which is a simple street description. And there is paragraph 1, a mandatory clause. It is expressly agreed that notwithstanding any other provisions of this contract, buyers shall not be obligated to complete the purchase of the property described herein or to incur any penalty by forfeiture of the earnest money deposits or otherwise unless the buyer has been given in accordance with HUD, FHA, or VA requirements, a written statement by the Federal Housing Commissioner, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or a direct endorsement lender setting forth the appraised value of the property of not less than, and that's the purchase agreement, the dollar amount that the buyer is willing to purchase the property for. So whatever you have as a purchase price on the purchase agreement is going to go in this blank. Now here's what it says in simple terms. In simple terms, if it doesn't appraise, the buyer is out of the purchase agreement. You can't make them buy it. You can't penalize them. That's what it says. Now that's the simple part of it. Buyer shall have the privilege and option of proceeding with the consummation of the contract without regard to the amount of the appraised valuation. Otherwise, if the buyer has the capability of being able to purchase it based upon what the appraisal is and what the FHA or VA, the HUD, is willing to do, they could buy the property. The appraised valuation is arrived at to determine the maximum mortgage of the Department of Housing and Urban Development will insure, and that's the key. HUD does not warrant the value nor condition of the property. Buyer should satisfy himself, herself, that the price and condition of the subject property are acceptable. So really what they're just saying there is we're protecting ourselves. Paragraph 2. The seller, borrower, real estate broker, or agent involved in this loan transaction are certifying that the terms of the attached sales contract are true and correct to the best of their knowledge and belief, and any other agreement entered into by any of the following parties must be fully disclosed and attached to the sales contract. Let me put it this way. Everything that you're saying, everything you're representing on a purchase agreement is accurate. And there is no other terms, no other addendums, nothing being hidden, nothing put under the table. All things are above board and part of the purchase agreement. The seller, borrower, real estate broker, or agent fully understand it is a federal crime punishable by fine or imprisonment, or both, to knowingly make any false statement concerning any of the above facts as applicable under provision of Title 18, United States Code Section 1012 and 114. So guys, everything that is an agreement must be in writing and attached to the purchase agreement and provided to the the mortgage company. Paragraph 3. If there is a seller contribution, otherwise seller concessions is another way that you would have been hearing it. This states that seller agrees to pay check, no cost for obtaining financing. It could be check, blank dollars to be used toward buyer's closing costs, taxes, discount points, prepaids, adjustments, okay? verbiage that you probably used to and part of one of our clauses in Transaction Desk and in SkySlope. Or could be that there's an attached addendum. All right. Now, obviously, we've already got a purchase agreement that addresses this, and it should be on there, and these are just going to coordinate. Paragraph 4 is a pest inspection. Seller or buyer agrees to pay for a required pest inspection. Now, it's important to know, you can't forget it because it's right here, but VA mortgages, the seller must pay for a pest inspection. It's on the seller. Keeping it really simple is all that is, and that's simple, plain language. In the event that there are any repairs, anything required that would require a reinspection fee, that is what this is addressing. And where it's, again, checking, is the seller or the buyer going to do this? Now, again, this is an FHA VA combination, which is the reason you see this set up this way, but it says the checked party agrees to pay for any inspection fee or fees, if any, as a result of any required repairs by the FHA VA appraisal. Now, again, can't forget it because it's right here in writing. It's going to tell you and remind you, VA mortgages, the seller has to pay that fee. Now, when it comes to the VA, is there a big deal and should a seller have any concern about a VA loan? No. It might take a week longer to get taken care of. Yes, there may be repairs that could be required. And other than that, it might take a week longer to actually get this taken care of. But no concern to have an FHA or a VA. But on the VA, they need to know that there are a couple of fees that they could incur should they work with this veteran to be able to get a VA mortgage. Paragraph 6 addresses any of the required repairs. So an appraiser is responsible for doing a head and shoulders inspection of the attic space. That means they're going to take their head, pop it up into the attic space. They're going to look around, probably for any signs of leaking and what do they call it? Discoloration, mold in attic spaces. They're responsible to make sure that the water is running and basically take care of anything that could be safety or livability issues that could come up, may come up, either shortly or in the near future, whatever you want to refer to it as. Safety, livability. That would be things like, guys, as simple as a light cover or a switch plate, a socket cover missing, junction box, loose wiring. Those are the simple things, but if you think safety and livability, that's what it's all about. Those are the most likely things that may come up. I will tell you the most common is what I just gave you, along with peeling paint, because there's a lead-based paint concern, trip hazards. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a guide, but they say in concrete, if you have a 1-inch change from one piece to the other, you may get called on that, and that could be an expense. Safety, livability. In this case, safety. Just know that those are there. And all you're doing is you're going to put a dollar amount for which or both parties. Because, say, seller and buyer agree to pay some. That's where the paragraph 7 comes in. What might I put in here? Well, again, I've got to think from an aspect of what's going to make my offer superior in the case if I have a competing offer. I want to make this acceptable to the seller. Well, if it's a great house, you could put 0 here and say that the buyer's going to take it on, and they would pay up to $500. Now, could they always pay more? They could, but typically it is a seller, because why would I want to put money into a home that I don't own? And I can't put it in after closing. So any money that I put here for the buyer is done pre-closing. Now, if seller and buyer each agree to pay a portion of these repairs, we're going to check who's willing to be the first party responsible. Obviously, we want that to be the seller as a buyer's agent. All right. In the event FHA required costs exceed the sum total of the above, the difference must be negotiated between the buyer and seller within 3 days. If it cannot be done, purchase agreement shall become null and void, and all the monies shall be returned to the buyer. So there is a very strict time constraint in regards to any repairs exceeding this amount once that is determined. Buyer agrees to apply for the FHA mortgage and lender certified to directly endorse FHA underwriting of such mortgage. And outside of that, guys, the simple normal: buyer sign date, seller sign if they're in agreement to all of this. So that should do it. Obviously, as with any document, if you have any further questions, talk to your mentor or your managing broker. And guys, we'll see you on the next video.